And the scary part was that during the bombing, only older, elderly people or young children were home. The able-bodied people were working. At first in the forest where they cut trees, and later on when the weather was cold and winter had come, they were working in the Anker Brot Fabrik, which was a bread factory that made bread for the German soldiers. And as a matter of fact, while they were working in the fields, cutting trees, young teenage girls were working. One of my cousins who worked, she was older than my older sister, was hit by a tree. A big tree fell on her, and she broke her pelvic. She got very sick, and they told her that, they didn't know if she would survive. They did take her to the hospital, and she was operated on, and she stayed there, and thank God she survived, and she got married, came to America, and has children, 3 children. But a few people were had accident in the forest. They weren't experienced lumber.
What was her name?
Her name was Javi, like my sister's, Fleischmann. She's living in New York right now. She, they didn't think, being that her pelvic broke, that she would have children, but thank God she did. She survived and she has children.
Was she, while she was working in the forest, at that time was your mother working in the bread, in the bakery?
No, mostly, most everyone worked at the forest during the good weather, like June, July, August, summer months. When the winter months came in, then they went over to work in the bread factory. As a matter of fact, while they were working in the forest, we were very hungry and very starved, because the rations of food was very little what the Germans gave us. As a matter of fact, one day my mother asked me to go out on the street in Vienna and beg for food stamps from the Viennese people. I was a young child. My mother taught me to speak German, and I went out and I said, "Bitte schön, gnädige Frau, Brotmark." And I went out day after day, and it helped. My mother would have this Brot mark, and she would get some bread. One day I went out to do this, and the Lagerführer, which was the head of our concentration camp, caught me. And he took me down to the cellar, to the bomb shelter, and locked me up in a dark room, and he said he's going to kill me, because I was not allowed to do that. My mother was in a panic. She went down to him and begged him to let me go. And she took out the money that she sewed into my shoulder pads and the cigarettes that were in my coat and offered it to him to let me go. He said he would think about it. Meanwhile, I was in this dark cellar, closed up maybe for 2 days without any food. And my mother was panicky and went down and begged her and begged her. It was a lady, that she should let me go. Finally she said, "Okay, give me all the money you have and all the cigarettes, which you shouldn't have anyway. I will let her go." And she let me go. She let me go up.
Do you remember what it felt like to be in the cellar?
Terrible. I had nightmares for years, and afraid of the dark, because she was very stern, and she kept telling me that she's going to kill, have me killed.
She was talking to you while you were
No. She locked me up mostly. She didn't talk to me, only when she took me out, and maybe once or twice to threaten me and warn me not to do it again, or else I would really, really be killed. But later on, when the winter months came and they went to work at the Brot Fabrik, then we weren't so hungry, because each night they would come home, my sister and my mother, with some rolls in their garment and some bread, and we would have what to eat. They would steal from the factory. Everyone that worked there, used to come home at night and bring a little bread until they got wise, and then they would search them.